Mo shouting was busy with his official business, so Yun Chujio couldn't sit still for a while. Yun Chujio glanced at the bookshelf. There were many books on it and her heart skipped a beat. She didn't know much about the immortal Yuan continent, so it was a good opportunity for her to learn more. Yun Chujio's eyes darted around. Mo Fankin's heart skipped a beat. What was this guy trying to do? Ahem, grandfather, can third sister and I look at the books on the shelves? Yun Chujio asked carefully. Mo shouting couldn't help but laugh. It's grandfather's fault for being careless. Since he asked you to come over and read with me, of course you can look at the books on the shelves. But be careful when you look at them. Don't get them dirty. Grandfather, don't worry. We are all good children who cherish books. Yun Chujio happily pulled out a book to read. Mo Fangqin also chose a book she was interested in. After a while, Mo Fangqin found that Yun Chujio changed a book. A moment later, Yun Chujio changed a book. A moment later, Yun Chujio changed a book. In a short while, Yun Chujio changed several books. Mo Fankin's eyes twitched. What the hell are you doing this time? Although Mo Fangqin was curious, she did not dare to make a sound. She was afraid of disturbing Mo shouting. Mo shouting noticed that Yun Chujio was switching books frequently and could not help but shake his head. Yun Chujio's personality was a little off. She was probably just looking at the pictures inside. It was almost noon and Mo shouting was out for work. Naturally, Yun Chujio and Mo Fangqin could not stay in the study room, so they had no choice but to leave. After leaving the study room, Yun Chujio looked at the spiritual fruit on the tree and swallowed her saliva. She already knew that it was a scarlet cloud fruit. Although it wasn't of a high grade, its juice was plentiful and its taste was delicious. The fellow comforted himself. There was plenty of time in the future and he couldn't afford to be impatient. Only then did he reluctantly walk out of the study room. Mo Fangqin saw Yun Chujio walking towards the main courtyard and said in confusion, "Big sis, it's time for lunch. Let's go back and have lunch before we greet grandmother." Idiot. The food at grandmother's place is definitely better than ours. Let's go and freeload. We might even be able to watch a good show. Yun Chujio said with a smile. Watch a show. Watch what good show? We'll know when the time comes. Hurry up, if grandmother finishes eating we won't be able to freeload. After saying that, Yun Chujio dragged Mo Fangqin and ran away. Mo Fangqin had no choice but to follow Yun Chujio and run to the main courtyard like a crazy girl. Running around the courtyard for a meal, Mo Fangqin felt that her moral integrity had already left her. When the maid on duty saw that the two of them were about to go in to pass the message, Yun Chujio shouted, "Grandmother! Grandmother! We have come to pay our respects. Come in." Inside the house, old Madame Lu was about to have lunch when she heard Yun Chujio's voice. She couldn't help but frown. This little girl really came? Grandmother, did you sleep well yesterday? Did you have a good breakfast? We haven't seen each other for a night. It's as if we haven't seen each other for several years. I really missed you. Yun Chujio said obsequiously. The corner of Mo Fankin's eyes twitched violently. Big sister, is it really okay for you to copy what you said to grandfather? Won't you change it a little? Old Madame Lu pursed her lips. This little mouth of yours is really sweet. I don't know if it's real or fake. Grandmother, as time goes by, you will know if I am truly filial. Third sister and I did not even have lunch to greet you. Do you think we are sincere? As he spoke, he peeked at the dishes on the table. He cursed in his heart. This old lady was really extravagant. She actually had so many dishes on her own. Hearing Yun Chujio's words, old Madame Lu finally had a smile on her face. Are you still going to accompany your grandfather to read in the afternoon? Grandfather has something to attend to, so we don't have to go over in the afternoon. Grandmother, you should eat quickly. If the dishes get cold, it will affect your taste and it will also be bad for your stomach. Yun Chujio said with a smile. The smile on old Madame Liu's face deepened. All right, you little girl are quite attentive. Grandmother, actually, this person has two sides of being attentive and careless. That's why I don't take him seriously. I'm usually the most temperamental, but when it comes to matters between you and grandfather, I naturally have to be attentive. This fellow had never been stingy and boasting about himself. What a joke, if you don't say something, how would others know? The fragrance of wine was afraid of the depth of the alley. You little monkey, you really know how to talk. Since you guys haven't eaten, let's eat together. Anyway, there are so many dishes. Old Madame Lu scolded with a smile. Hee hee, grandmother, you're really amazing. Did you guess that I'm here for lunch? I can't help it. Who asked you to have delicious dishes here? Yun Chujio said with a cheeky smile. Old Madame Lu scolded her with a smile and asked the maid to add 2 more chairs. The 3 of them sat down to eat lunch. Granny Gao was dumbfounded. Yesterday old Madame Lu was still shouting about fighting and killing. Today they were sitting together to eat? This title had been upgraded from a little girl to a little frisky monkey? This was completely a nickname. No matter what, this Miss Fong Chao had sent a big bunch of lotus seeds yesterday. Today she didn't take anything and just left to eat lunch? Granny Gao boldly guessed that it would not be long before Miss Fong Chao would become the most favored granddaughter. Perhaps only young Master Junchen would be more favored than her. The rest of her grandchildren would be further behind. As the 3 of them were eating, Yin Hong walked in and reported, "Old Madam, First Madam, Second Madam, Third Madam, and all the young misses are here to see you." Old Madam Lu was taken aback. "Luo sure is here?" "Yes, not only Second Madam is here, Miss Fong Hua is here as well." Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. She lowered her voice and said, "Grandmother, it's a little strange. Why are they here together? Could it be that second aunt went to first aunt and third aunt first? Logically speaking, second aunt and sister Fong Hua should have come to see you directly when they came. How could they go past you to see their peers?" Old Madame Liu's anger was immediately roused. She slammed the table. "That slut. She must have gone to the eldest and third daughter-in-law to fan the flames again. She definitely doesn't have any good intentions." "Grandmother, that's not necessarily the case. Perhaps second aunt went to ask what exactly happened yesterday." Yun Chujio explained openly, but in reality she was adding fuel to the fire. Won't she just ask me directly? This bitch might be taking advantage of this opportunity to take Junchen back. She's getting the eldest and third daughter-in-law to speak up for her. How outrageous. Yun Chujio was secretly happy. Damn it, this old woman's imagination was too strong. This time there would be a good show to watch. Second Aunt Mo Fonghua, don't let me down. You're courting death. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Grandmother, you are really too wise. What you said makes sense. How about this? You send them to the living room and we will sing a good show so that you can test her intentions. Yun Chujio rolled her eyes and said, "Sing a good show? What do you mean?" Old Madame Lu asked in confusion. Yun Chujio mumbled to herself. Old Madame Lu thought for a moment before nodding. Yin Hong asked them to wait in the living room. Tell them that I'll be there after lunch. Yes. Hearing Yin Hong's words, Madame Luo and the others could only rush to the living room to wait. Sister-in-law, did father really approve of Fong Chao? Madame Luo still couldn't believe it. The bumpkin had only been here for 2 days and Mo shouting already approved of her. How was this possible? Second sister-in-law, I don't know if father appreciated her or not, but he really did ask her and Fong Qin to accompany him to the study room to read. Wu sure gloated in her heart. This bitch was only promoted by her concubine. What right did she have to be on the same level as me? This time her son's leg had been broken and Fong Chao and Fong Qin had even beaten Fong Hua. How satisfying. At the side, Lady Niu's eyes flashed with a gloating light. She said with a fake smile, second sister-in-law, that Fong Chao was really ruthless. She directly broke Jun Chen's leg. Although mother wanted to punish that Fong Chao, father protected her, so there was nothing she could do. Madame Luo's eyes couldn't help but redden. On one hand she felt sorry for her son and on the other hand she hated Yun Chujio and Mo Fongqin. Even old Madame Lu hated them. It was all this old fart's fault. If she didn't have to bring Junchen over, would Junchen have suffered this? Usually she always talked about how to pamper Junchen. Now that Junchen's leg had been broken by that slut, she didn't even let out a fart. Just as everyone was talking, old Madame Lu came in from outside the door. After old Madame Lu sat down, Madame Luo and Mo Fonghua came over to greet her. Old Madame Lu saw that Mo Fonghua was very perfunctory in her greeting, and her expression was arrogant. She thought of Yun Chujio's words in her heart, and her face immediately became gloomy. This Fonghua really didn't put her, this grandmother, in her eyes. He was really detestable. Old Madame Lu said coldly, "Why did you come over? Where's Chinga?" "Mother, husband came with us. As soon as we entered the city we met Big Brother. Husband followed Big Brother to the Satin Manor," said Madame Luo. "Then why didn't you come to see me directly when you and Fonghua entered the city?" asked old Madame Lu with a gloomy face. Madame Luo couldn't help but be stunned. Her expression was a bit unnatural. She paused for a moment and then said, "Mother, I saw that it was lunchtime, so I didn't come to disturb you. I went to sister-in-law's place to sit for a while." Old Madame Lu snorted coldly. "You should be thinking of an old woman like me. Sit down." Madame Luo's heart thumped. What did this old fogey mean? Mo Fenghua frowned. She saw that old Madame Lu was very unhappy with Madame Luo's sarcasm. She thought for a moment and said, "Grandmother, I heard that Junshin was beaten up by a country bumpkin. I want to go and see Junshin." Old Madame Lu smacked the table. "How dare you? You want to leave right after coming here? Do you take me, your grandmother, seriously?" Usually, although Mo Fenghua was not as favored as Mo Junshin, she had never been reprimanded in such a manner. Her face immediately flushed red as she argued, "Grandmother, I'm only worried about Junshin. I have no other intentions." Old Madame Lu was even angrier. "How dare you talk back? Luo, sure you have taught your daughter well. Fenghua, why aren't you apologizing to Grandma?" Madame Luo saw that the situation wasn't right and quickly winked at Mo Fenghua. When old Madame Lu saw this, she became even angrier. It was just as Feng Chao had said, Fenghua's good child had been spoiled by this slut. Mo Fenghua's eyes were slightly red as she said stiffly, "Grandma, I was wrong. Humph. All of you have grown up and grown up. How can you put an old woman like me in your eyes?" Old Madame Lu said with a strange tone. "Mother, look at what you are saying. You are still young. If you were to say that you are our elder sister, people would believe you." Madame Luo was truly at a loss. What was this old fogey trying to do? No matter how she praised her for her youth, this trick was always effective. Clang. Old Madame Lu slammed her teacup to the ground. "Luosher, you bitch. Are you trying to be on equal footing with me?" Old Madame Lu nearly exploded from anger. This was because she recalled that Yun Chujio had said that Madame Luo wanted to vie for the authority of the family. Now she was talking about elder sister. Wasn't it obvious that she wanted to be on equal footing with her? It had to be said that old Madame Liu's imagination was really strong. The main reason was that she was already dissatisfied with Madame Luo. Now her dissatisfaction was magnified. Madame Luo was on the verge of collapse. What was wrong with this old fogey? How could he not be able to tell that he was lying? "Mother, please calm down. I was wrong." Madame Luo had no choice but to admit her mistake and get through this first. "Humph. You were wrong? How can you be wrong? How capable are you? You forcefully instigated second brother to move to Jinchuan City. The two children who were perfectly fine were taught badly by you. You shameless slut." Madame Luo had been living in luxury in Jinchuan City all these years. In addition, her mother's family's influence was constantly growing, and her back had hardened. Hearing old Madame Lu humiliate her like this, her anger couldn't help but rise. "Mother, father, and you agreed to move to Jinchuan City back then. Besides, what's wrong with Fenghua and Junshin?" Fenghua was considered outstanding among the younger generation in the Western continent. Junshin was indeed a little mischievous, but that was all because of you. Did I teach him? Old Madame Lu was so angry that she was trembling. "Bitch. Good. Good. You really have grown wings. You actually dare to talk back to me. According to what you said, Jun Chen's leg is broken. Is it also because of me?" "Mother, there are some things that a daughter-in-law shouldn't say, but since you asked, I can only tell you the truth. Firstly, Jun Chen has spent most of these years growing up in the old mansion. You have to bear a lot of responsibility for his mischievous character. Secondly, Jun Chen's legs were broken by Feng Chao right under your nose. Won't you let someone stop him?" Madame Luo thought that since they had already fallen out, there was nothing to be afraid of. Besides, she had her mother's family backing her up now, so the Mo residents wouldn't dare to do anything to her. "Slut. Kneel down. Nanny Gao, bring me the family law." Old Madame Lu was so angry that she almost passed out. It was just as Feng Chao had said, the culprit behind all of this was this slut. When Madame Luo heard what old Madame Lu said, she immediately said, "Mother, I think you're most likely not in good spirits today, so your words are a little chaotic. Since that's the case, Fenghua and I will go to the Luo residence to stay for a few days first. When your anger has subsided, we will return." After Madame Luo finished speaking, she did not care whether old Madame Lu agreed or not. She directly took Mo Fenghua and left. It's the other way around. It's the other way around. This bitch. I'm so angry. Old Madame Lu was so angry that she almost passed out. Wu Shi and Lady Niu did not know how to persuade old Madame Lu when they saw how angry she was. They were afraid that they would get into trouble. Old Madame Lu became even angrier when she saw that all of them were motionless like wooden stakes. It seemed that they were just like that slut. They all wished for me to die as soon as possible so that they could divide the family fortune. What a bunch of slut. At this moment Yun Chujie rushed in from outside. Grandmother. My dear grandmother, what's wrong with you? Your anger is hurting your body. Quickly calm down. Mo Fankin's mouth twitched as she followed her in. She thought to herself, you're asking even though you know the answer. Isn't this all part of your plan? Yun Chujie rushed to old Madame Liu's side. She coaxed and advised, Grandmother, don't be angry. If you're angry, won't you be punished by someone? Someone is like a grasshopper after autumn. No matter how much they jump, they won't be able to escape from your palm. It's not that you can't beat her. It's just that you are too merciful and soft-hearted. There's still plenty of time in the future. I won't be angry, I won't be angry. If you are angered to the point that your body is damaged as your granddaughter, my heart will ache to death. Old Madame Lu let out a long sigh. You are still the filial monkey, that slut from the Luo Shi. And that Feng Hua is infuriating me to death. Wu Shi, Niu Shi and company had their eyes wide open. Their mouths were agape. Oh God, in just a night how did the world change? Didn't the old madam still yell at this country bumpkin yesterday? Didn't she call him a little slut? Why did she become so affectionate today? Little monkey? This was obviously a nickname. What exactly happened? Yun Chujie saw that old Madame Lu was almost done being angry. Then she said to Wu Shi, Niu Shi and the others, First aunt, third aunt, I didn't do what I said yesterday. Please don't take offense. Yesterday grandmother taught me a lesson. I have already learned my mistake. In the future, I will definitely be filial to grandmother and take good care of little brother Junshin. Wu Shi and Niu Shi were dumbfounded. What the hell was going on? Old Madame Lu snorted coldly. Didn't you hear Feng Chao apologizing to you? Why are you still standing there? Feng Chao, it's good that you know your mistake. It's good that you know your mistake. Wu Shi and Niu Shi felt as though they had been bickering in their hearts. Why did the two of them who were incompatible with each other yesterday suddenly turn into grandfathers and grandsons? Eldest brother, third brother, that slut Luo Shi has returned to her home. What should we do? Asked old Madame Lu with a cold expression. Wu Shi and Madame Niu exchanged glances. Wu Shi said, Mother, second sister-in-law is clearly unhappy with you. I reckon that only second brother can bring her back from the Luo residence. Mother, second sister-in-law's rebuke to you clearly shows that she doesn't take you seriously. You shouldn't have allowed second brother to bring her back. It's better to leave her alone for a few days. Wu Shi and Niu Shi wished for the matter to blow up. This way the second branch would not be able to compete with them for the family assets. Upon hearing the duo's words, old Madame Lu became even angrier. Is there a need for you to say all this? What's the point of keeping her in the dark? Won't others judge her? What I want is for that slut Luo Shi to bow her head and admit her mistake. Wu Shi and Niu Shi frowned. Luo Shi was clearly planning to shed all pretense of cordiality. How could she possibly come back to bow her head and admit her mistake? Besides, she still had the Luo family backing her up. You two are useless. Feng Chao, tell grandmother. Do you have any way to make that slut admit her mistake to grandmother? Matriarch Lu looked at Yun Chujie, who was standing to the side. Yun Chujie rolled her eyes and leaned over to whisper a few words into old Madame Liu's ear. Old Madame Lu kept nodding her head. You little monkey is really smart. All right, we will do as you say. Wu Shi and Niu Shi were extremely curious. What method was this country bumpkin talking about? Mother, what method is Feng Chao talking about? Niu Shi asked out of curiosity. If I told you, you might have tipped off that slut Luo Shi. When the time comes, you will naturally know, said old Madame Lu with a cold expression. Wu Shi and Mrs. Niu's faces turned stiff. What exactly happened? How did a country bumpkin suddenly become the most favored? The two of them did not have as much confidence as Mrs. Luo, so they naturally did not dare to retort. In any case, they would know what was going on sooner or later. The two of them spoke a few more sentences dryly, then brought Mo Fang's Huang and the other two out of the main courtyard. Sister-in-law, what kind of sorcery did that country bumpkin use? Why does the old madam and the family head favor her so much? Lady Nyo asked in puzzlement. Third brother and sister-in-law, am also very puzzled. They were clearly shouting about fighting and killing yesterday. How did they all change in one night? Wuxia was also baffled. The two of them discussed for a long time, but they still could not figure out what was going on. However, both of them had other plans in mind. Inside the room, Yun Chujio leaned against old Madame Liu's ear and said, Grandmother, now is a great opportunity to uncover eldest aunt and third aunt's spies. They must be wondering why our grandfather and grandson have reconciled. Therefore, they will definitely think of a way to find out about the spies they have planted in your yard. All you need to do is get Nanny Gao to send someone to keep an eye on them. Old Madame Lu nodded her head in praise. You are indeed smart, little monkey. Not only did you manage to uncover their informants, you even managed to uncover that slut Luosher's informants. Grandmother, how can my little bit of cleverness be compared to your wisdom? I have much to learn from you. Yun Chujio openly flattered her. Mo Fengqin, who was standing by the side, had her mouth twitch. She reckoned that she would never be able to learn this shameless personality of hers in this life, the next life or the next life. After Yun Chujio coaxed Matriarch Lu, she brought Mo Fengqin back to Tingyi Xian. Elder sister, what ideas did you come up with for grandmother? Mo Fengqin asked curiously. I asked grandmother to send a reliable person to fetch your aunt over, and then I asked grandmother to stop father from going to the Luo residence. Luo sure will definitely go for it. That's not all. I even asked grandmother to tell grandfather to suppress the Luo residence's business. With a two-pronged approach, there's no need to be afraid that the Luo clan will not bow down. Mo Fengqin was pleasantly surprised. This was great. She could take the opportunity to bring her aunt to the old residence. Furthermore, her grandmother and Luosher had already fallen out, so she would definitely send people to protect her aunt's safety. Yun Chujio's eyes flashed with a stern look. Luosher, Mo Qing, we are not afraid of settling scores. Let's take it slow. At night, just as Yun Chujio was about to fall asleep, the voice transmission charm in her storage ring began to vibrate. Yun Chujio took out the voice transmission talisman with a trembling hand. Di Biming's deep voice came from inside. Little Jiu, from now on, men and women are not related to each other. You take care. If it was an ordinary girl who received such a message, she would definitely cry bitterly and seek death. However, it was clear that Yun Chujio was not an ordinary person. She blinked her eyes, she smiled and said, all right. Anyway, I also think that you are quite useless now. However, should we talk about the breakup fee? You kissed me, touched me and left just like that? After a long while, there was still no movement from the sound transmission talisman. Yun Chujio's anger immediately flared up. Damn it, pretty boy, you're good. If you have the ability, then don't let me catch you. Break up with me? I think you want to fly up to the sky and stand shoulder to shoulder with the sun. I think you want to go into the deep sea and have a mouth-to-mouth conversation with that bastard. Pooey. No, he can only have a mouth-to-mouth with me. Xiao Hanyo asked weakly, Master, why aren't you sad? Generally speaking, shouldn't a girl be heartbroken after being broken up? Heartbroken my ass. This gigolo needs to be taught a lesson. Either he was forced to, or he has some incurable disease, or he has some difficulties. Otherwise, he wouldn't break up with me. Xiao Hanyo stared at him with his pizzazed eyes and was even more puzzled. Master, why do you say that? Is it possible that he has changed his heart? Has he fallen in love with another girl? Hissy. That's impossible. I'm not bragging, Master. The gigolo is completely loyal to me. Unless there's some force majeure, he would only do something stupid. Otherwise, would he dare to say that? Besides, where would he find such a gorgeous, smart and beautiful woman like Master? Yun Chujio pouted and said. Xiao Hanyo silent. Xiao Hanyo took a long time to put his shattered worldview back together. He asked curiously, Master, what are you going to do next? Humph. The gigolo must have reached the immortal Yuan continent. Otherwise, the sound transmission talisman would not work. Naturally, I have to meet him. I want to see what this idiot is up to. Yun Chujio said angrily. It would be a lie to say that she was not sad. However, this guy's mental endurance was not something ordinary people could compare to. What was the use of being sad? The gigolo would die for her. How could he break up with her for no reason? There must be a problem. What was there to be afraid of if there was a problem? Just solve the problem. However, the gigolo liked to be stubborn. He had to think of a way to force him to come out and meet her. Yun Chujio rolled her eyes and sent a voice transmission talisman to Enfeng. Little lunatic, did you follow your exalted lord to the immortal Yuan continent? Yun Chujio was simply a blind cat trying to kill a mouse, but she had scared Enfeng on the other side. Enfeng carefully glanced at Di Biming beside him. After feeling an even colder air than before, he couldn't help but shiver. Oh my god. Although His Majesty was originally arrogant, he was still a little popular. Now he was like an ice sculpture scaring people to death. Enfeng carefully said, Your Majesty, the 9th Miss has sent a voice transmission talisman to me. Can I see it? Di Biming frowned and clenched his hands tightly, not saying a word. Enfeng would have taken the opportunity to persuade Di Biming in the past, saying that there was something to discuss. However, ever since Di Biming's temperament had changed drastically, he did not dare to do so anymore. He had seen with his own eyes how Di Biming had severely injured Xue Wuji, who had gone to the Temple of Immortals to interrogate him. He had also seen Di Biming staring coldly at Di Linhan and the Lady of the Temple Master. He had also seen with his own eyes how terrifying Di Biming's powers had become. He knew that the person in front of him was still His Holiness, but he was no longer His Holiness. Just as Di Biming was about to turn around and leave, the voice transmission talisman started to vibrate again. Di Biming's footsteps paused, but he still used his divine sense to probe inside. Yun Chujia's giggling voice came out from the voice transmission talisman. Pretty boy. You've abandoned me in the end and you still don't want to pay the breakup fee. Since that's the case, then I can only rely on myself. Anyway, the Mo family has a lot of shops, so I will sell your paintings. I believe that money will be rolling in soon. When that time comes, the entire Immortal Essence continent will be filled with your paintings. Tell me, isn't it very interesting? Isn't it a pleasant surprise? Di Biming's eyes darkened and the veins on his forehead bulged and a cold air came out. Enfeng could not help but shiver. It was so cold. Oh god, it must have been Miss Jiu who said something. However, it was not too much to scold His Excellency. They were going to break up out of the blue. He was really mentally ill. Damn. Well scolded, so scolded. Di Biming took a deep breath and prepared to leave. At this time, the sound transmission talisman trembled again. Di Biming paused for a moment and then sent his spiritual sense in. Yun Chujia's smug voice came from inside again. Pretty boy, don't worry. I will not hang myself on your crooked tree. In a few days the Mo residence will be mine. At that time I will hold a marriage ceremony. Anyway, I have spirit stones. I will recruit a few hundred of his husbands. Every night I will flip through the name tags and ask him to sing a lullaby for me if I like him. Enfeng was secretly observing Di Biming's expression when he saw the green stone slabs on the ground start to shatter one by one. He was so frightened that he shrunk his neck and said weakly, Your Excellency, the earth, the earth. Enfeng had not finished speaking when he saw Di Biming leap out with a whoosh. He only saw an afterimage. Di Biming was heading towards the Mo residence. Enfeng curled his lips. I told you the wicked will be tortured by the wicked. Little brat, no matter how cold and ruthless you are, you still can't escape from Miss Jiu's palm. By the way, should I go and watch the show? For the sake of my life, I'd better forget about it. After Yun Chujio sent out the voice transmission talisman, she hit the pillow. Pretty boy. Bastard. Do you think I care about you? Do I have to have you? A beautiful girl like me, don't you have too many people chasing after me? Pretty boy, you are so shameless. If you turn against me, you won't recognize me anymore. Just you wait, I will draw it now. I don't believe that I can't teach you a lesson. While Yun Chujio was cursing, she felt a little cold. Damn it. As expected, people are so unlucky that even a mouthful of cold water is enough to choke their teeth. Why did the weather suddenly change? Is it going to rain? Sigh. It's good to rain. It's just like how I feel. I gave my heart, but in exchange I got a big bastard who abandoned me. As he spoke, he took out a stack of drawing papers from his storage ring. On them, cough cough, were all Di Biming, the naked Di Biming. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. I have to say, although the gigolo has no conscience, his figure is really not bad. If it really doesn't work, I'll make a few puppets in the future and make them all look like gigolos. I'll do whatever I want with them. When the time comes, these puppets will be called Gigolo number 1, Gigolo number 2, all the way until Gigolo number 250. Haha, I reckon that when I sell these puppets they'll definitely be very popular. I will definitely make a huge profit. The more he talked, the more his thoughts became like wild horses that could not be pulled back. Then the door was smashed into pieces. Yun Chujio looked up and saw Di Baiming standing at the door. Di Baiming was full of murderous aura and his face was full of anger. It was obvious that he was very angry. When Yun Chujio saw Di Baiming standing at the door, she did not cry or make a scene. Instead she asked faintly, "Are you going to die soon?" "Humph. I really let you down. My body is very healthy. I can live for thousands of years without any problems." When Di Baiming heard Yun Chujio's first question, he actually asked if he was going to die. One could imagine the anger in his heart. Actually, even if you are going to die soon, it doesn't matter. Who doesn't live without who? You are here to give me a breakup fee, right? Hurry up, you can leave after giving me the money. I can use this money to support a few more husbands. When the time comes, I'll have a bunch of little ones. Just thinking about it is beautiful. Yun Chujio stretched out her hand with a smile. You don't know shame. Di Baiming was so angry that he gritted his teeth and smashed the dressing table in the room. I don't know shame? Di Baiming, are you shameless? Do you have the right to criticize me? Did I make you break up with me? Or did I make you abandon me? Don't tell me you have some bullshit reason. Just solve the problem if you have a problem. I despise cowards like you who always sacrifice yourself to help others. Why are you glaring at me? You think you're great. You're a coward. You think you can't overcome the difficulties you encounter, so you pretend to be affectionate and break up with me. Do you think that I will be grateful just because you did this? Dream on. Let me tell you, Di Baiming, the moment you said that you were breaking up with me, you were no longer my Prince Charming in my heart. You are an out-and-out coward. Hurry up and give me the breakup fee, then get lost. I, Yun Chujio, am looking for an indomitable hero, not a self-righteous bear. Yun Chujio pointed at Di Baiming's nose and started cursing. Although the cursing was very fierce, the rims of her eyes were red. Di Baiming clenched his fists and his eyes were red. After a long silence, he took a deep breath and said, "You are right. I am a coward. Forget about me." Yun Chujio's heart skipped a beat. Di Baiming's eyes were fixed on Yun Chujio, and Yun Chujio was also fixed on Di Baiming's eyes. Both of their eyes were bright red. They were obviously filled with endless affection, but what they said were ruthless and malicious words. Di Baiming wanted to turn around and leave, but his legs were extremely heavy. He knew that once he took this step there was really no room for redemption. He had already made up his mind. Why did his heart ache when he heard that little Gio wanted to find another man? He had already decided to let go. Why did he only want to hug little Gio when he saw her pretending to be strong? Di Baiming gritted his teeth and finally turned around, wanting to leave. Pretty boy, very good. This is what I want too. Let me tell you the truth. The Guai Chao in my dantian has begun to corrode my dantian. I estimate that I won't be able to live for more than 3 months. Initially I thought that I wouldn't be able to see you again. Seeing you before I die would be considered as having no regrets. There is no fate between us in this life. In the next life, let's not see each other in the next life. We are fated but not fated. After saying that, Yun Chujio's tears flowed down. She lay on the bed and wailed loudly. Di Baiming suddenly turned around and ran to the bedside. He was about to take Yun Chujio's pulse. Get lost. I don't want you to pretend to be kind. You must be giving me such an act because I'm about to die. You ingrate, get lost. Just let me die on my own. I'm also someone who no one will love. It was not easy for him to think that he was going to die, but he was snatched to the immortal essence continent. The worst thing was that I won't live long. I'm going to die. Woo woo, Yun Chujio was crying so hard that it almost broke Di Baiming's heart. The Guai Chao in his dantian felt that he had been wronged to death. He had been very well behaved recently, alright? Why did he throw the blame on him? Damn it. Di Baiming was so anxious that his forehead was covered in sweat. When he saw Yun Chujio crying so hard that her small body was trembling, it seemed like she was going to faint. His heart was in pain as he said, "Little Gio, don't cry anymore. I'll bring you back to the Tianyuan continent and let my master rebuild your dantian." Rebuild my dantian? I don't want to. Anyway, you don't want me anymore. What's the point of me living? I'll just die in the immortal Yuan continent. I don't want my grandfather and the others to be sad when they hear the news of my death. I'm a person with a bitter life. I was abandoned at birth and I can't even fucking cultivate. It wasn't easy for me to be able to cultivate, but there's still a Guai Chao in my Dantian that wants my little life. I met you. I originally thought that we'd be a pair forever, but I never thought that you'd be a fucking bastard who abandoned me from the beginning to the end. Vubi sobbed, what's the point of me living? Fuck, I can't live anymore anyway. I've decided to use the sudden rupture talisman to blow me and the people in the MO residence to death tomorrow and let them die with me. I can be considered to have died a glorious death. Yun Chujio cried as she spoke, her voice full of cadence. Di Baiming wanted to hug Yun Chujio in his arms to comfort her. However, when he thought of the purpose of his visit, he couldn't help but be in a dilemma. He was so anxious that he gritted his teeth. Yun Chujio saw Di Baiming's unlucky look through the gaps between her fingers. She couldn't help but curse in her heart. He's so damn stubborn. Looks like he'll have to take the initiative to attack. Just as Di Baiming was sweating profusely, Yun Chujio suddenly got up from the bed and pressed Di Baiming on the bed. Then she kissed him. How could Di Baiming have expected such a turn of events? He wanted to resist again, but the little pervert was determined to trick him, so he had no choice but to comply. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Yun Chujio bit and gnawed continuously. Di Baiming could not hold it in any longer and turned around to press Yun Chujio under his body. After lingering for a while, the two of them finally ended this earth-shaking long kiss. Both of their lips were slightly red and swollen, especially Di Baiming's lips, which were even bleeding from Yun Chujio's bite. Yun Chujio turned around and pressed Di Baiming under her again. Humph. Didn't you want to marry me? Then why did you kiss me? You stinky hooligan. Di Baiming had never thought that he could be related to the word stinky hooligan in his life. He could not help but feel embarrassed and grabbed Yun Chujio's wrist. Your Dantian is fine. Are you lying to me? Di Baiming frowned and asked. Although it's fine now, something will happen sooner or later. Actually, I also understand why you want to break up with me. There are 3 shameless people in my Dantian. Moreover, I have the heavenly thunder spirit root that Tiandao wants to kill. Most importantly, I can't have sex with you. Of course you despise me. As Yun Chujio spoke, tears fell again and fell on Di Baiming's face. Nonsense. When have I ever despised you? Di Baiming reached out his hand to wipe away the tears on Yun Chujio's face. You don't have to be so kind. If you don't despise me, why did you break up with me? Yun Chujio said angrily. Sigh. Little Jio, I really did it for your own good. If we don't break up, you will be implicated by me sooner or later. Di Baiming had no choice but to grit his teeth and say. Are you stupid? Then won't you become stronger and protect me? Yun Chujio pouted and said. Di Baiming let out a long sigh. Little Jio, there are some things that I can't tell you. Moreover, I don't know much myself. Of course, I want to become strong enough to protect you, but am afraid that before I become strong enough, you'll be implicated by me. I'd rather die myself than let you die because of me. So let's split up. Don't worry, I won't marry anyone else. I won't fall in love with another woman for the rest of my life. Yun Chujio poked Di Baiming's chest. Are you stupid? Are you stupid? You think that if you break up with me, I won't be in danger anymore? Your so-called threat is that no matter how powerful you are, you can still be as powerful as Tiandao. I'm not even afraid of Tiandao, so why would I be afraid of a bullshit threat? Besides, I'm such a talented person, will I always be so weak? I'll become stronger. When the time comes, I'll fight side by side with you. Whoever wants to break us up, I'll destroy him. Di Baiming did not speak for a long time. Then he suddenly turned around. Yun Chujio realized that she could not move anymore. Di Baiming looked at her. The expression in his eyes was very complicated. There was pity, love, guilt, and a hint of struggle. Little Jio, remember what you said. If you can gain a firm foothold in the immortal Yuan continent in 3 years, and am still alive, we will get married. If you can't, I will also arrange for someone to help you kill the members of the Mo family, including the members of the Mo family and the Ben family in the eastern continent. I will help you resolve the future problems and send you back to the Tian Yuan continent. You can find someone to marry. Yun Chujio knew that Di Biming was serious this time. Her eyes flashed with a dazzling light. 3 years. Then 3 years. But, Gigolo, are you going to let this go after torturing me like this? If I become a heaven's favorite in the immortal Yuan continent in 3 years, you will have to kneel down and propose to me in front of all the mighty figures in the immortal Yuan continent. You will also say that you are looking down on me and underestimating me, Yun Chujio. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. At this moment the MO residence was in a mess. What a joke, the door had been smashed to pieces. It was impossible not to be in a mess. After Yun Chujio could move, she blinked her eyes. Damn it, I'm not in a good mood today, don't you all stop. Help. Help. So scary. So scary. Yun Chujio shouted a few times. When she realized that no one was moving, she couldn't help but slap her thigh. The gigolo must have knocked the 3 of them out. But that was also true. Otherwise they would have woken up long ago. After Yun Chujio woke up Qing Ji and Qing Lu, she went into Mo Fangqin's room and found that Mo Fangqin was also unconscious. Of course she wouldn't remind Mo Fangqin that she was knocked out. Instead she said with disdain, "Third sister, you're sleeping too hard. Our door was smashed but you can still fall asleep." Mo Fangqin's face was full of confusion. When she raised her head she indeed found that the door had shattered into pieces. "Big sister, what's going on?" "How would I know? Come, let's go to grandmother's place to get a good impression of her." Mo Fangqin was now Yun Chujio's little fan. She put on her coat and followed Yun Chujio out of Tingyi Xian. The two of them ran all the way to old Madame Liu's courtyard. Grandmother, are you okay? I was so worried." Yun Chujio hugged old Madame Liu and said with a sobbing voice. Old Madame Liu was stunned by Yun Chujio's big bear hug. However, when she saw Yun Chujio's red and swollen eyes, she could not help but feel a little touched. This little girl seemed to be really worried, otherwise her eyes would not be so red and swollen. Old Madame Liu comforted the two of them as she raised Yun Chujio's status to a whole new level. Seeing the change in old Madame Liu's expression, Yun Chujio couldn't help but give herself 32 likes in her heart. Not only did she hide her red and swollen eyes, she also increased her favorability towards Yun Chujio. It was like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Mo Fangqin pursed her lips. This woman's eyes were already red and swollen. No one would believe that she was worried about her grandmother. Mo Shouting led his men to inspect the place. Apart from the fact that more than half of the doors in the Mo residence had been smashed to pieces, they did not find anything out of the ordinary or missing. How strange. What kind of person was so bored that he smashed all the doors in the Mo residence in the middle of the night? Could it be a warning? That's not right. If it was a warning, why didn't he just smash all the doors in the Mo residence to pieces? Why did he have to go through so much effort to smash so many doors? Mo Peng's and Mo Chang's mansions were only separated by a wall from the Mo residence's old mansion. Mo Qing had stayed at Mo Peng's mansion that night, so when he heard the commotion he had all rushed over. After discussing it over and over again, everyone was still confused. They had heard of people who killed people and they had heard of people who stole things. However, this was the first time they had just come to smash a door into pieces. What was the meaning of this person? The next day at dawn, the area outside the Mo residence was in chaos again. Because someone noticed that a large chunk of the flagstones on the ground had been shattered. Although this wasn't a big deal if it was an attack with spiritual energy, the fact that no one noticed any traces of spiritual energy was a little unusual. Mo Shouting was already suspicious, so he couldn't help but feel even more worried. Could this be a warning from some almighty to the Mo family? But the Mo family had not provoked anyone. Mo Shouting asked his 3 sons for their opinions, so they were naturally dumbfounded. Trash. All of you are useless. How can I trust you with the Mo family? Mo Shouting scolded angrily. Mo Peng and the other 2 looked at each other. Didn't matter. After all, they were all being scolded at the same time. Besides, the old man only had 3 sons, so he could only give the family property to them. How could he give it to an outsider? As long as the anger subsided, everything would be fine. At this time, a crisp voice came from outside the study room. Grandfather. Grandfather. We're here. Emo shouting furrowed his brows. This woman really didn't know what she was doing. After what happened to the Emo residents, they should have just stayed in the courtyard. Why did she come to the study room to cause trouble? Just as Emo shouting was about to let the two of them return, he heard Yun Chujio call out, "Grandfather, I have something important to tell you." Emo Xiating's heart skipped a beat. "Come in." Emo Cheng's expression turned ugly. He had already heard from Wu Shi that this unfilial daughter had broken Jun Chen's leg. How dare she? Moreover, he had heard that she had won the love of her father and mother. How was this possible? So when he saw Yun Chujio and Emo Fangqin enter, he immediately yelled, "Unfilial daughter. We are talking business with your grandfather. What are you doing here? Get out of here." Yun Chujio blinked her eyes and looked pitifully at Emo shouting, "Grandfather." Emo shouting knew that sometimes it was better to speak less than to say more. It was better to hold back when you wanted to say something. As expected, Emo shouting saw Yun Chujio's pleading eyes and Emo Cheng's angry expression. He was furious. "Second brother. It was me who let Fang Chao and Fang Qin in. What, do you have something against me?" Emo Cheng immediately cowered as he quickly explained, "Father, I'm not disobeying you. The main issue is this important study room. Why did the two girls come in?" "What do you mean? Are you saying that I'm old and stupid?" "Chivich, in my opinion, Fang Chao is stronger than the three of you. If Fang Chao was a grandson, even if I handed the Emo family over to her, I wouldn't hand it over to the three of you idiots." Emo shouting heard Emo Cheng's words. He was even angrier. Emo Peng and Emo Chong heard Emo Xiating's words and their hearts tightened. They turned to look at Yun Chujio. This little girl knew evil tricks, didn't she? In just a few short days, how did their father think so highly of her? However, the two of them weren't too nervous. After all, Emo shouting had already said that she was just a little girl. There was no way she would hand the Emo family over to her. At most, she would only give them a little more dowry. Plus, the second brother had other plans for her. "Father, I really don't understand. How can a little girl like her be better than the three of us?" Emo Cheng's face was flushed red. He felt extremely humiliated, so he vented his anger on Yun Chujio. This rebellious daughter was indeed a jinx. Emo shouting scoffed and ignored Emo Cheng. Instead, he looked at Yun Chujio. "Fang Chao, do you have anything to say to grandfather?" Yun Chujio pulled out a bowl of porridge from her storage ring. "Grandfather, I know you haven't slept all night and haven't had breakfast in the morning, so I asked the big kitchen to prepare a bowl of porridge for you. There are some herbs in this porridge to clear your heart and dispel your anger. You should drink it first. No matter how important the matter is, it's not as important as your health." Emo shouting looked at the bowl of porridge and heard Yun Chujio's words. No matter how cold-hearted he was still a little touched. Emo shouting did not say a word. He took the bowl of porridge and drank the porridge inside. After he finished the porridge, his nervous mood relaxed a little. Emo shouting placed the empty bowl on the table. He asked Yun Chujio gently, "Fang Chao, are you here to deliver porridge to grandfather? If you have nothing else to do, you can go back. By the way, the scarlet cloud fruits in the courtyard taste good. Pick some and eat them when you leave." Emo Peng and Emo Chong looked at each other. The old man was so kind and attentive. Wasn't he too good to this Emo Fang Chao? He couldn't help but feel lucky. Fortunately, this Emo Fang Chao was a little girl. Otherwise, he might have really handed the Emo family over to her. As soon as Yun Chujio heard that she was about to eat the crimson cloud fruit, her smile grew brighter. "Thank you, grandfather. Actually, I came here to tell you my opinion." Before Emo shouting could say anything, Emo Ching yelled, "What do you know? Get out of here." Yun Chujio was so frightened that she shrunk her neck and looked at Emo shouting timidly. "Bastard. Are you the one in charge here or am I?" Emo shouting glared at Emo Ching. Emo Ching gritted his teeth and did not say a word. In his heart he was complaining that his father was too old and muddle-headed. How could a little girl have any opinions? "Fang Chao, speak. Don't worry, grandfather will make the decision for you. No one will dare to touch you," Emo shouting warned as he glanced at Emo Peng and the other two. Emo Peng and Emo Chang's intestines were about to turn green with regret. If they had known that this little brat would be doted on by the old man, they would never have brought her here. It was like throwing a rock at their own feet. If things continued to develop like this, their second brother's plans would probably be ruined. The old man would never allow him to do that. However, she was just a little brat from a low-class society. What could she possibly do? How could she have a good opinion about what happened last night? Forget it. It was likely that she would come up with a very childish opinion. Grandfather, do you think it's a bad thing that our door was broken into? Maybe someone warned us? Yun Chujio did not say what she thought. Instead she asked Shouting. Shouting nodded. That's right. I do think so. Isn't that right? Grandfather, I think the opposite of what you think. I think this is a good thing and a huge one at that. Yun Chujio said firmly. Ching couldn't help but snort. Nonsense. Father, she's just a little girl. How can she have any good ideas? Just let her out of here. Shut up. You're a good-for-nothing yourself. Do you think everyone else is as good-for-nothing as you? Feng Chao, ignore him and continue. Shouting looked at Yun Chujio encouragingly. Grandfather, think about it. If the person had bad intentions, why would they go through so much trouble to smash through only a dozen doors? If it was a warning, wouldn't it be more effective to smash through the doors of the Mo residence? Yun Chujio paused for a moment and secretly observed Mo Xiating's expression. She then continued, I think the person is either playing a harmless joke on us. As you know, all the experts in the outside world have their quirks. Perhaps this person likes to knock on other people's doors for fun. Of course, it was also possible that he was trying to give us some pointers. Ching opened his mouth in an attempt to mock Shouting, but he was afraid that Shouting would scold him. So he swallowed his words and scoffed in his heart. What nonsense. Well said. She is indeed my Mo Xiating's good granddaughter. He is so smart. Have a point. The stone slabs outside the door were not created by human hands, so this is all part of God's will. Sooner or later, the Mo family will return to the eastern continent. Shouting kept praising Yun Chujio. As he looked at Mo Peng and the other two men standing beside him. Shouting was furious. The three of you are all stupid. You can't compare to Feng Chao, you useless piece of trash. You are all part of the Mo family, how can you be so different? Cheng's pupils contracted. He wanted to say something but swallowed it back and glared at Yun Chujio. Father, why are you staring at me? Do you have a different opinion? Yun Chujio looked at Ching with confusion. Shouting furrowed his brows and said unhappily, Second brother, do you have a different opinion? No. Ching wasn't that stupid. Shouting was obviously satisfied with what Yun Chujio said. If he said he didn't have a different opinion, he would be looking for trouble. Eldest brother, third brother, do you have a different opinion? Shouting asked Mo Peng and Mo Chong. Mo Peng praised against his heart. Father, what Feng Chao said makes sense. This is a sign from the heavens. Our branch will soon return to the eastern continent. Mo Chong added, although niece Feng Chao is young, she is smart and quick-witted. No wonder father thinks highly of her. Mo Shouting nodded. Since you are all so slow-witted, then work hard. How's the business you've been managing recently? Seeing that they were about to discuss the business, Yun Chujio tactfully said, Grandfather, you guys can discuss some business. Third sister and I will take our leave first. The main thing is, I really have a craving for the scarlet cloud fruit. We'll pick some and eat them. Mo Shouting couldn't help but laugh. What a gluttonous little girl. Go on. Pick some more. No one likes the taste of the scarlet cloud fruit anyway. Mo Peng and the other two thought to themselves, old man, aren't you ashamed of your words? When did the scarlet cloud fruit not break their heads? Why did no one like to eat it? How biased. Yun Chujio did not care whether she was biased or not. This person never knew what it meant to be reserved. When she arrived at the courtyard, she specifically picked large and red fruits. Mo Fengqing couldn't stand it any longer and said softly, Big sis, that's enough. The scarlet cloud fruit is meant for everyone to try. Only then did Yun Chujio jump down from the tree and clapped her hands. I thought what grandfather said was true. Since no one likes it, I'll just pluck it all. The corners of Mo Fengqing's eyes twitched. She didn't believe that Yun Chujio couldn't tell that Mo Shouting was lying. This guy was greedy. The next day, Auntie Chio was picked up to the old mansion. Mo Fengqing was very excited as she dragged Yun Chujio to see Auntie Chio. This was the first time Yun Chujio had seen Auntie Chio. Auntie Chio's appearance wasn't bad, but it was obvious that she was a docile person. If it wasn't for Mo Fangqin protecting her all these years, Mrs. Luo probably wouldn't have needed to do anything. The servants could bully her to death. Yun Chujio furrowed her brows. Such a personality was difficult to use. If things went wrong, she might even be a burden. He had to think of a way. That night, Yun Chujio said to Mo Fangqin seriously, "Third sister, your aunt's personality is too docile. Firstly, you can't always protect her. Secondly, if she doesn't fight for herself, we can't help her no matter how powerful we are." Mo Fangqin said helplessly, "Big sister, I know what you said, but a leopard can't change its spots. My auntie is such a weak character who doesn't fight for anything. I also advised auntie to be stronger, but it didn't have any effect. Third sister, when dealing with someone with Auntie Cho's character, you have to use strong medicine. What are you trying to persuade is useless." Strong medicine? What's strong medicine? Mo Fangqin was very confused. There is a saying that a mother is strong. Your personality is too independent and strong, so Auntie Cho doesn't have the desire and opportunity to become stronger. Mo Fangqin was stunned and then asked, "Big sister, what do you think we should do?" "It's very simple. If you have nothing to do, go to your auntie and complain. Tell her all the grievances you have suffered all these years. Tell her all the grievances in your heart. Don't be afraid that your aunt can't take it. A mother is much stronger than you think. You have to let her have a strong desire that you need her protection and that you need her to become stronger. That's enough." Mo Fangqin felt that it was a little unreliable. Character is not formed in a day or two. You can only slowly change it. How much you can change depends on your acting skills. The weaker you are, the faster and stronger your aunt will change. Mo Fangqin was skeptical. However, she now completely followed Yun Chujio's words, so she still followed Yun Chujio's instructions. Yun Chujio did not idle either. She often went to old Madame Liu's place to gain a good impression and also to sow discord between her and Mrs. Luo. Old Madame Lu now found Yun Chujio much more pleasing to the eye than before. If it were not for Mo Junchen who constantly badmouthed Yun Chujio would be even more favored. Old Madame Lu followed Yun Chujio's instructions and pulled out a few of Wu Shi's spies. Originally, according to old Madame Liu's personality, she would have to cane all these maidservants to death. Yun Chujio gave an idea. "Grandmother, why do you have to dirty your hands? Let's not alarm these people first. Maybe when the time comes, we'll use a counterplot and have an unexpected effect." Old Madame Lu laughed and scolded, "You little monkey, you sure have a lot of ideas. All right, well, do as you say." Yun Chujio secretly memorized the names of these people. Tiske, these people had something in my hands, they might be useful in the future. Although Mo Qing wanted to bring Madame Luo back, old Madame Lu had already given her life. If he went, old Madame Lu would kill herself, so he did not dare to pick up Luo Shi. At the same time, Mo Shouting began to put pressure on the Luo family's business. He had long disliked the Luo family, so he could use this as an excuse to vent his anger. Madame Luo's life at her mother's house was not easy. They both deserved to die. On the other side, Yun Chujio and Mo Fangqin had just returned from Mo Xiating's study room to Tingyi Xian. Their eyes flashed. "Third sister, I heard that Luo Shi is back. Hurry and go to Auntie Chio's place to raise morale." Mo Fangqin nodded and left the courtyard. After Yun Chujio returned to her room, she moved the desk away and dug out the square bricks from underneath. Xiao Hei jumped out from within. "Master, your black-hearted father said that he wants to arrange a marriage for you. You should think of a way quickly. From what he said, the other side will come to give the betrothal gifts soon." Xiao Hei said anxiously. "Arrange a marriage? They want to arrange a marriage for me just because they brought me back? Did he say who the other party is?" Yun Chujio frowned and was not too surprised. Xiao Hei repeated what it had heard. "Master, it's all thanks to your divine plan that I hid in your black-hearted father's study. Otherwise, things would have been bad. What should we do now?" "I have to think about it carefully. It's not that easy to plot against me. You continue to keep an eye on me and be careful not to be discovered," Yun Chujio said coldly. "Master, don't worry. I've made another hole in their bedroom. I guarantee that I'll be able to find out their conspiracy," Xiao Hei said proudly. The corner of Yun Chujia's eyes twitched. She was afraid that she would not be able to get any useful information from the bedroom. Instead, it was the two of them who were having sex. They were probably going to have sex. After Xiao He left, Yun Chujio moved the table back to its original position. Yun Chujio recalled what Xiao He had said. Mo Qing had said, "It doesn't matter if it's dead or alive." This meant that there was definitely something wrong with the marriage. Either the other party was a pervert or the other party had other motives for marrying her. However, it was definitely not a good marriage. If not, the Luo clan would have allowed Mo Fenghua to marry instead of her. Yun Chujio felt that the matter was a little tricky. The difficulty of this matter depended on the background of the family that wanted to marry her. If the other party was just an average family, she could easily get rid of them by acting coquettishly and using her words. She was afraid that the other party's background was much stronger than the Mo family's. If the other party threatened her, Mo Shouting would definitely give up on her. The second possibility was extremely high. Otherwise, Mo Qing and Madame Luo would not have taken such a huge risk to bring her back from the Tianyuan continent. Most importantly, manager Xia's Hunyuan Bao was said to have been lent to Mo Qing by Mo Shouting. This meant that Mo Qing knew about it. Mo Shouting wasn't the only one who knew. Old Madame Lu, Mo Peng and Mo Chong also knew about it. Otherwise, Mo Peng and Mo Chong wouldn't have wanted to succeed her. As long as Mo Qing gave them enough benefits, no one would speak up for her. Yun Chujia walked around the house. What should she do? Escape? Obviously it wasn't possible. Her current spiritual power was too low. Although she was in danger in the Mo residence, she could at least keep her life. If she ventured out, she would most likely die. Most importantly, she wanted to use the Mo residence as a springboard to the eastern mainland. Since she couldn't escape, she could only think of a way to ruin the marriage. Right now, the only thing she could do was to gain Mo Xiaoting's attention within a short period of time. This attention had to exceed the benefits that the other party had promised. What could she do to make Mo Shouting fall out with the other party to protect her? To be honest, Yun Chujio couldn't think of a solution for the time being. Although her alchemy or talisman-making skills had an immediate effect, the side effects were too great, so she couldn't use this method as a last resort. Yun Chujio also had the thought of asking Di Biming for help, but she immediately rejected it. Firstly, the gigolo was definitely doing something important. He was probably very far away from Fengli City, so far water couldn't quench his thirst. Secondly, Yun Chujio, am also an ambitious person. We agreed on a 3-year pact. We agreed on becoming the elites of the immortal Yuan continent. If I ask for help in such a small matter, wouldn't that be a slap in the face? Yun Chujio was a big-hearted person. If she couldn't think of a solution, she might as well stop thinking about it. When the time came, she would just have to deal with whatever came her way. At worst, she could use her talisman technique to convince Mo Shouting. The next morning, Yun Chujio and Mo Fengqin arrived at Mo Xiaoting's study room. Mo Xiaoting's expression did not look too good. It was as if he had encountered something troublesome. Yun Chujio tactfully did not annoy him. Instead, she sat quietly at the side and read a book. Yun Chujio's mind was naturally not on the book. After a long time without turning the page, the corners of his mouth suddenly curled up and his eyes sparkled. Mo Fengqin, who was standing beside him, couldn't help but wonder, what was this black-hearted country bumpkin thinking? After a while, Mo Ping and Mo Chong came in with their heads lowered. Mo Shouting saw the two men's anger and was furious. Useless people. How did Mo Shouting raise two useless people like you? Father, please calm down. It was only because we were careless that we fell into the trap. We will be careful in the future, Mo Ping said with a red face. Humph. You sure made it sound easy. If you were careless, you would have lost hundreds of millions of high-grade spirit stones. With the speed at which you squandered, the Mo family would be completely wiped out in less than 3 years. You promised me that you would be able to take care of things on your own. The first thing I asked you to do, you ruined it for me. How could I trust you with the Mo family? Mo Shouting pointed at Mo Ping and Mo Chang's noses and cursed. He was obviously extremely angry. Mo Chong was being scolded so badly that he couldn't keep his face. He tried to defend himself. Father, you can't put all the blame on me and brother-in-law. It's all because of second brother's brother-in-law. Otherwise, how could we trust him so easily? If I were to say this, It's possible that second brother and his brother-in-law teamed up to set the Mo family up. Playing. Mo shouting smashed the teacup on the table onto the floor. Idiots. How can you be so gullible? You know that the Mo family has been suppressing the Luo family for a long time and they are already unhappy. Yet you still let the Luo family lead the way for you. Are your heads made of paper? Mo Chang said unhappily, Father, we accept everything you've said. But are we just going to let second brother get away with this? He doesn't have the guts. That idiot must have been used by someone. Someone get second brother here. Mo Xiaoding's head was buzzing. Whether it was his son or grandson, there was no one capable. Who would he leave the Mo family to in the future? Mo Fengqin tried her best to signal Yun Chujio with her eyes. Her eyes were about to cramp up. What did she mean? They were already like this, why weren't they taking their leave? This was too indiscernible. Yun Chujio acted as if she hadn't seen anything as she calmly continued to read her book. Unfortunately, she did not turn the page for a long time. It was obvious that the drunkard's intention was not in the wine. Mo shouting was so angry that he was about to faint. Naturally, he could not remember to chase them out. As for Mo Peng and Mo Chang, they had the intention of letting the two of them leave, but they were afraid that they would be scolded if they said anything, so they did not dare to say anything. Mo Qing and Luo Shi had a rough night last night. They yawned sleepily as they walked in. Father, you were looking for me? Mo shouting was furious when he saw Mo Cheng's expression. You useless thing. What time is it? Tell me, did you know about the plain brocade? Mo Cheng was confused. Plain brocade? What's wrong with plain brocade? Didn't big brother and third brother just bring in a large batch of plain brocade? It was my brother-in-law who arranged it. Mo Chang immediately said, Second brother, what are you pretending for? Did you and your brother-in-law make a trap just to trick me and big brother? Mo Cheng's face was filled with astonishment. Third brother, what did you say? What nonsense, what did I cheat you of? You still don't admit it? Your brother-in-law said that the plain brocade supplied by the merchant was of good quality and cheap price. My brother and I felt that this plain brocade was a popular fabric in the Eastern continent, and we could definitely make a huge profit from selling it. Thus we bought 500 million high-grade spirit stones plain brocade in one go. Who would have thought that when we returned to take a look, only the top few of those plain brocade were good. The plain brocade below were mottled all over. It was obvious that they were not dyed evenly and were defective goods. The biggest selling point of plain brocade was that the color was pure and there was no color difference even when it was dyed. Who do you want me to sell these goods to? Mo Chang was certain that this was a trap set up by Mo Qing and could not contain his anger. Mo Qing was stunned at first, then he sneered and said, Third brother, not to mention that I would never do such a thing. Even if I really set a trap, are you an idiot? Don't you know how to inspect the goods? Mo Peng and Mo Chang's faces flushed red. They naturally knew how to inspect the goods. However, on the day of the delivery of the goods, Mo Chang's brother-in-law and the merchant arranged for the location to be at a brothel. Mo Peng and Mo Chang were dazzled by the enchanting woman inside. They quickly glanced at the few pieces of cloth on top and stored them in their storage rings. Mo shouting saw his three sons blaming each other and blamed each other. His anger grew. Shut up. I will naturally send someone to investigate the truth. If the Luo family is involved, I will not let them off so easily. Now tell me, what should we do with this batch of goods? Mo Peng probed. Father, why don't we lower the price of this batch of cloth? Lower the price. How much? The original price is 100,000 spiritual stones per piece. But right now no one wants 5,000 spiritual stones. Those who have money will feel that it's too low, but those who don't will buy cheaper cloth, okay? Then we will lower the price even more. Someone will definitely buy it for 3,000 spiritual stones. Bullshit. Is this what you call an idea? Idiot. Mo shouting wished he could slap him to death. What a pig's brain. After being scolded, Mo Ping did not dare to speak. Mo shouting then turned to Mo Chang. Third brother, tell me, what idea do you have? Mo Chang rolled his eyes. Father, let's give him a taste of his own medicine. I'll find a buyer somewhere else to sell this to him. When the time comes, we'll just deny it. Mo shouting was so angry that he almost fainted. You're driving me crazy. Let's not talk about whether or not idiots like you would fall for it. Even if they did fall for it, wouldn't our Mo family's reputation be ruined? The most important thing in business is reputation. If we don't have a reputation, it's only a matter of time before it's over. Mo Ching watched from the side as Mo Peng and Mo Chong were scolded. His eyes flashed with pride. These two idiots still want to compete with me for the position of family head? In your dreams. Second brother, what do you have in mind? Father, I just found out about this matter and was really caught off guard. However, I had an idea just now and am not sure if it's feasible. Speak. Father, I've heard from Qiao Yun that the Luo clan has recently hooked up with people from the extreme desert city. Although the extreme desert city is lacking in resources, it produces fire gravel and is a good material for refining artifacts. As we need to pass through the extreme desert to reach the extreme desert city, very few people go there to do business. If we ask the Luo clan to sell these plain brocade at a lower price in the extreme desert city, and then exchange them for a considerable amount of fire gravel, once we come back and sell them, we'll definitely make a profit without losing anything, Mo Ching said with a beaming expression. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. At most, I will give birth to a few more children in the future and one of them will have the surname Mo. Besides, if someone from the Mo family is successful, I'll just hand over the housekeeper to him. If you don't trust me, I'll swear on my life, Yun Chujio said as she pouted. Mo Shouting was stunned for a moment before he fell into deep thought. Feng Chao, it's good that you have such intentions, but this is a big matter that concerns the Mo family. Grandfather can't make a decision just because you say so. How about this? If you can help grandfather handle the plain brocade beautifully, he'll consider it. If you can't do anything about it, then don't mention anything about taking control of the Mo family and listen to grandfather's arrangements. Do you have the guts to agree? Yun Chujio couldn't help but curse. What an old fox. Even if she succeeded, Mo Shouting would only give it a think. He was truly capable of both offense and defense. However, she urgently needed Mo Xiaoting's recognition, so she could only seize the opportunity in front of her. So, Yun Chujio said confidently, Grandfather, leave this matter to me. I promise that not only will I not lose money on this batch of plain brocade, I will also help you make a huge profit. But there is a condition. You must keep everything I do a complete secret. You must not tell anyone and give me some reliable servants. Mo Shouting did not expect Yun Chujio to actually agree. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. If his 3 sons were so brave, they could have been taught slowly even if they were a little slow. Unfortunately, they were all useless. Tell me, does your father know anything about this? What role does he play? Yun Chujio said with a smile. Grandfather, since you've asked, I can only speak my opinion. I think that father didn't know about it before, but after the incident, second aunt should have told him some things and then gave him such an idea. As for my father, he must have thought that since the incident had already happened, there was nothing to be done about his resentment towards the Luo family. He might as well take this opportunity to show off in front of you. Second aunt must have told him that this was a great opportunity to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You must have been very disappointed with first uncle and third uncle. With my father's performance, you must have been very fond of him and might have decided to pass on the position of clan head to him. Therefore, my father had come to show off in a silly manner. Of course, the biggest beneficiary of this matter would definitely be the Luo clan. The businessman was most likely in cahoots with the Luo family. Not only did he successfully sell the defective goods, he also suggested a way for the Luo family to go to Extreme Desert City. The Luo family would definitely take this opportunity to make another profit. They might even come up with some harsh conditions to threaten the Mo family. What you said makes sense. But what do you think I should do when your father returns? Mo Shouting looked at Yun Chujio as she spoke with confidence. He felt even more regretful that she was a granddaughter. He was a grandson. The Mo family would definitely shine. Grandfather, we can't let an ingrate like the Luo family get away with this. Let's delay him. We won't say yes or no. Let them lower their guard so we can take action. I promise you, as long as you trust me enough, after I deal with this batch of plain brocade, I will definitely think of a way to bankrupt the Luo family and let others see the consequences of provoking the Mo family. Yun Chujio said confidently. Emo shouting was overwhelmed by the scene described by Yun Chujio. This granddaughter of his was indeed not simple. Not only was she intelligent, she was also bold and domineering. Only someone like her could become a qualified family head. Emo shouting subconsciously tapped his finger on the desk and remained silent for a while. He gritted his teeth. Fong Chao, as long as you can do what you say, grandfather will give you a chance to become a family head like your uncle. Grandfather, this is the best decision you've made. Nonsense. Why do you need so many spiritual stones? Emo shouting thought he must have been too anxious to believe that a little girl like her would have a solution to the problem. Grandfather, so you think I'm asking for too much? Didn't you know that 20 million wasn't a lot for a small amount of money? Don't worry, your 20 million is just bait. In the future I will return you a lot of big fish, Yun Chujio said confidently. Emo shouting was silent for a moment before he gritted his teeth and handed Yun Chujio 20 million high-grade spirit stones. Fong Chao, I'm warning you. If you waste your money I will not forgive you. Grandfather, don't worry. I guarantee that it will be fine. Give me a few trustworthy people. I think the guards in your study room are not bad. Give them to me and then give me a shrewd shopkeeper. You don't need to worry about the rest. Emo shouting was so angry that his nose almost went crooked. It turned out that this little girl was worried about his guards. She was quite shrewd. These guards had the highest spiritual energy in the Emo residence and were also the most reliable. Emo shouting had no choice but to pull the trigger. He could only grit his teeth and call in a guard. Hey sure, you and your men will temporarily listen to Fong Chao's arrangements. Her orders are equivalent to mine. Don't make any mistakes, okay? Hey sure was dumbfounded. What did they do wrong? How did they go from being the master's guard to being Miss Fong Chao's guard? But he did not dare to disobey Emo Xiating's orders. So he simply agreed and left. Fong Chao, you can't leave this matter open-ended. Give me a definite answer. How long will it take for you to sell these plain brocade? Emo shouting had invested a lot in this matter. Of course he had to get to the bottom of it. Yun Chujio thought for a moment, at most half a month, at least 10 days. I will definitely make you back what you owe me with interest. During this time, on one hand you will drag the Luo family down. On the other hand you will think of a way to get my father and second aunt out of Fengli City so that they don't ruin my plans. Also you should warn first uncle and third uncle not to cause any trouble for me. Emo shouting did not get impatient after hearing Yun Chujio's words. On the contrary, he felt a little more confident in her. The fact that she could think of all this meant that this little girl was quite capable. He wanted to see what she was going to do. The two of them continued to chat about the details before Yun Chujio led the dumbfounded Emo Fongqin out of Tingyi Xian. Hey sure, the few of you came to see me in the middle of the night without anyone noticing. If anyone finds out, I will make you pretend to be beggars. Yun Chujio whispered to Heisher. Heisher nodded in a daze. He had a bad premonition in his heart. He was afraid that the following days would be more exciting than he could imagine. When they returned to Hexian, Emo Fongqin said anxiously, Big sister, why are you doing this job for no reason? It's not easy for grandfather and grandmother to treat us better. If you don't do well, you will be even more disliked than before. Yun Chujio sighed faintly. Third sister, I am now sailing against the current. If I don't advance, I will fall back. You also know that father and second aunt did not have good intentions when they brought me back. Do you think grandfather will speak up for me when the time comes? If I don't climb up as soon as possible, I will only be at the mercy of others. Emo Fongqin was silent. She knew that what Yun Chujio said was the truth. The Emo family were all cold-blooded and heartless. There was nothing that they could not sell for profit. Big sister, what do you plan to do? That plain brocade is a batch of defective goods. Not to mention selling it at a high price. Even if it is sold at a low price, there might not be anyone who will buy it. Emo Fongqin asked in confusion. Third sister, this batch of plain brocade is a defective product in the hands of others. When it comes to me, it will be a good thing that everyone will fight over. You just wait and see a good show. The corners of Yun Chujio's lips curled up, and a bright light flashed in her eyes. A business genius was about to appear out of nowhere. Trumblescum. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Hearing Yun Chujio's words, Mo Fongqin was still a little uncertain. The plain brocade was obviously a defective product. Anyone with eyes could tell. How did it become so popular with her? Was that even possible? After lunch, Mo shouting sent someone to deliver a few plain brocade to Yun Chujio. Mo Fangkin's heart turned cold when she saw it. Not only were the colors of the plain brocade modeled, but the patterns on each of them were also different. Even if she wanted to piece them together, she wouldn't be able to. It would be strange if someone bought these rags. Yun Chujio's eyes lit up as she looked at the rags. It was as if she was looking at gold and silver treasures. Baby. Third sister, these will soon turn into shiny spirit stones. When the time comes, I will let you drink soup even if you eat meat. Mo Fangkin's eyes twitched. Drink soup? If you don't let me be implicated by you, I will be Ba. Yun Chujio took out a large kitchen knife and cut off a piece of cloth. Then she said to Mo Fongqin with a smile, Third sister, I have an important task for you. Mo Fongqin was dumbfounded. What task? It's very simple. Just stand still and don't move. After Yun Chujio finished speaking, she took the piece of cloth and started to gesture at Mo Fangkin's body. At times she was happy, but at other times she frowned as if she was mentally ill. Big sister, don't tell me you still want to sell these cloth as clothes? You told your grandfather that you would sell these cloth within half a month. This amount of time is not enough to make clothes. Moreover, even if you can finish it, you won't have enough time to sell it. Moreover, can the clothes made from these clothes be worn? Mo Fongqin felt that Yun Chujio was bragging too much this time. It was impossible to sell these clothes. Yun Chujio gestured for a long time before she said to Mo Fongqin, Third sister, go play by yourself. I have to be busy. Although Mo Fongqin was puzzled, she still tactfully left. Yun Chujio took out a pile of rice paper, then took out a brush, ink, paper and inkstone and began to draw. This guy drew one but was not satisfied, so he rolled it into a ball and threw it on the ground. He drew another one but was not satisfied, so he rolled it into a ball and threw it on the ground. Soon the ground was full of paper balls. During dinner, Mo Fongqin came to find Yun Chujio, and was shocked when she pushed the door open. She saw that the ground was full of waste paper balls and Yun Chujio was still drawing. Mo Fongqin saw a stack of drawings on the table and could not help but pick up one. It was a drawing of clothes. Although it was just a simple sketch with pen and ink, it was still eye-catching. The style of these clothes was something she had never seen before. Was the country bumpkin preparing to use these plain brocade satin to cut into ready-made clothes? However, would this defective product ruin this exquisite design? Just as Mo Fongqin was thinking about it, she heard Yun Chujio say, You came at the right time. My handwriting is too elegant and elegant. I'm afraid that others won't recognize it. You write it. Mo Fongqin pursed her lips. Elegant and elegant. I'm afraid that your handwriting is too ugly. Mo Fongqin took the brush and Yun Chujio took out a drawing and handed it to her. This ready-made clothing is made of red cloth and white plain cloth. The material must be light and thin. The image of the ready-made garment flashed in Mo Fangkin's mind. The modeled pattern on the garment, coupled with the white cloth, should have a good effect. Yun Chujio let Mo Fongqin write down the remaining items that needed to be marked in the drawing. Then she stretched. Okay, it's time for dinner. Big sister, although the clothes you made are novel in style and look good with accessories such as drapes or belts, it doesn't look bad. However, time is limited and there is no time to make all the ready-made clothes. Moreover, even if it can be completed, I don't think it will sell at a good price. Plus, with all the expenses, it will still be a loss. Mo Fongqin was still uncertain, and she felt that it was too difficult to make a profit without losing money. Third sister, people consider two factors when buying things. One is whether the item is good and the other is whether the item is famous or not. Now, we've already completed the first step. The clothes are indeed good. The rest depends on the second step. Mo Fongqin was at a loss. Big sister, why can't I understand what you're saying? Famous? How famous can this rag be? If it's really spread out that it's a defective product, then it won't be able to sell. Yun Chujio laughed arrogantly. That depends on how you want to fool me. You just wait and see. Mo Fongqin still felt that this matter wasn't reliable, but seeing that Yun Chujio wanted to keep her in suspense, she decided not to ask. In the middle of the night, Heisher sneaked into Yun Chujie's courtyard with a few people. They were devastated. As guards of the Mo residence, how could they sneak into the young Miss courtyard like a joke? The one who was even more devastated was a fat old man. This was the shopkeeper that Mo Shouting had found for Yun Chujio. He was brought here by Heisher. The fat old man's surname was Gua. Even now he was still in a daze. What was he trying to do? He had been kidnapped from his home in the middle of the night, claiming that it was an order from the master. If the master wanted to see him, why didn't he see him in the day? Besides, this courtyard was not the master's courtyard. Yun Chujio heard the commotion outside and signaled for Qing Ji and Qing Lu to keep an eye on the outside. She led the group into a small living room at the side. The reason why Yun Chujio dared to use Qing Ji and Qing Lu was that this fellow had the names of the spies of the Wuxia and the others. They were not on the list. Moreover, she had observed them for a period of time and found that the two handmaidens were quite obedient. She had also threatened and bribed them. She had let them handle some unimportant matters. Shopkeeper Guo was even more dumbfounded when he saw Yun Chujio and Mo Fangqin. Although he did not know Yun Chujio and Mo Fangqin, he could tell from their clothes that they were the young ladies of the Mo residence. How could he come to see them in the middle of the night? Yun Chujio sized up Shopkeeper Guo. Shopkeeper, what's your surname? My surname is Guo, Shopkeeper Guo said respectfully. So it's Shopkeeper Guo. You might not know why I called you here. It's like this. I will definitely take care of the plain brocade issue. I won't let you down. Since we have a guest visiting, third sister and I will take our leave. Yun Chujio couldn't help but curse in her heart. This old fox was really stubborn. It looked like he would temporarily delay the Zhao family. If she took care of the matter regarding the plain brocade, then the crisis would be temporarily resolved. If she didn't take care of it properly, the old fox would most likely agree to the Zhao family's request. What a cold-blooded old bastard. Okay, let's go back. Mo Shouting noticed that Yun Chujio did not continue to pester the Zhao family. He couldn't help but be satisfied with the way she handled the matter. If the plain brocade matter could really be taken care of. It wasn't a bad idea to have a falling out with the Zhao family and ask her to stay. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. After sending Yun Chujio away, Mo Shouting arrived at the reception hall. A moment later, Mo Qing and Luo Shi accompanied an old man into the room. Father, this is the second elder of the Zhao family. He has specially come to discuss the marriage between Fang Chao and us, Mo Qing said with a bow. Mo Shouting was furious when he saw Mo Qing and Luo Shi fawning over him. How embarrassing. Oh, it's second elder Zhao. Please have a seat. Someone, come and take a look at the tea. Mo Xiating's tone was a little distant and unfriendly. The second elder of the Zhao family only nodded slightly before sitting down. He did not even say a word of courtesy. It was obvious how arrogant he was. Luo Shi said from the side, Father, should we call out the fragrant grass for the second elder to take a look? How dare you? How dare a woman like you interrupt us? Get out of here. Mo Shouting shouted unhappily. Catching a child was not a business deal, not to mention it was not a business deal. Luo Shi's face was red from embarrassment. She took her leave, her heart filled with hatred. Old fart, just you wait. After scolding Luo Shi, Mo Shouting picked up his teacup and drank his tea without a word. The second elder of the Zhao family did not expect Mo Shouting to have such an attitude. When he saw Mo Qing and Luo Shi trying to curry favor with him, he originally thought Mo Shouting would have the same attitude. But he did not expect Mo Shouting to be so unpredictable. Master Mo, let's not beat around the bush. I am here to help my nephew, the youngest son of the Zhao family, propose a marriage. As long as the marriage is confirmed, our two families will be in-laws. Not only will the betrothal gifts be generous, the Dao talismans that the Zhao family specializes in will be offered to the Mo family at the lowest price. The second elder said. He looked at Mo Shouting confidently. He did not think Mo Shouting would reject his offer. The Dao Talisman's business had a huge profit margin, but it was only possible if there was a source of supply. There were very few high-level talisman masters on the immortal Yuan continent. So, if any family had a few talisman masters, it would be like raising a money tree. The Zhao family was a famous talisman family on the immortal Yuan continent's western continent. Almost all of the talismans on the western continent were supplied by the Zhao family. If they could get their hands on the low-priced talismans, it would be a huge profit. This was also the reason why Emoching took such a huge risk to bring Yunchujio back. As long as he signed a partnership agreement with the Zhao family, the benefits would be huge. Although Mo Shouting had expected this, he was still shocked by Second Elder Zhao's words. As long as he married the herb, he would receive such a huge benefit. It was simply too worthwhile. If it wasn't for Yun Chujie's face painting and her words, Mo Shouting would have agreed without hesitation. At most, he would have added a few additional conditions. But at this moment he began to hesitate. A troubled expression appeared on his face. Second Elder Zhao, logically speaking, this marriage should be a good one. But Feng Chao has just been found and she has suffered a lot over the years. We can't make such a hasty decision. I need to ask her for her opinion. Second Elder Zhao furrowed his brows. He originally thought that Mo Shouting would agree to it after he finished speaking, but he didn't expect Mo Shouting to give him an ambiguous answer. Emoching couldn't sit still any longer and said anxiously, "Father, marriage has always been arranged by parents since ancient times. What does a little girl like her know? Where can you find such a good marriage? Please help her make a decision." This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Mo Shouting wished he could slap Emoching to death as he glared at him. He then turned to Second Elder Zhao and said, "Second Elder Zhao, you've come a long way. It's been a long journey. Why don't you stay at my Mo residence for a few days and let me do my part as a host? As for the marriage, I will give you an answer as soon as possible." Second Elder Zhao was extremely unhappy. He replied coldly, "Thank you for your hospitality, Patriarch Mo." In other words, the matchmaker for my nephew had already broken through the door. If it wasn't for Second Master Mo's sincerity, I wouldn't have come. So, it's best for Patriarch Mo to make a decision as soon as possible. The Zhao family will not force you. It had been a long time since Mo Shouting had been ridiculed like this, so he was naturally unhappy. He said coldly, "Second Elder Zhao, the biggest reason you came all the way here to propose marriage is probably because of Feng Chao's maternal family. Although the Mo family wants to develop further, it's not to the extent that we can't survive without working with the Zhao family. So, Second Elder Zhao, please wait patiently for a few days." "Master Mo, what do you mean? It's fine if you don't agree, but do you think the Zhao family won't be able to get a daughter-in-law?" Second Elder Zhao jumped to his feet. "Second Elder Zhao, calm down, calm down. My father is reluctant to part with his granddaughter. He doesn't mean anything by it." Mo Cheng's forehead was covered in sweat as he complained to Mo Shouting in his heart. All he had to do was agree. Why did he have to wait for a few days? Could it be that he had lost his mind? Second Elder Zhao, Emoching is right. I really don't want to part with my precious daughter and get married so early. My words were a little harsh. Please don't take it to heart. Emoching, accompany Second Elder Zhao to the guest house to rest. Tonight, I will arrange a banquet to welcome Second Elder Zhao. Mo Shouting suppressed the dissatisfaction in his heart. He pulled back his words. Seeing that Mo Shouting had pulled back his words, Second Elder Zhao came back with a mission. So he decided to play along and smooth things over. After making arrangements for Second Elder Zhao, Emoching rushed over to see Mo Shouting. "Father, as long as we have the low-priced talisman from the Zhao family, we will be able to earn a lot of money. This is a great opportunity for the Mo family to rise to fame. How can you push it away?" Emoching complained. Mo Shouting glanced at him. "If the marriage is successful, what benefits will the Luo family get?" Emoching was shocked and his face turned a little embarrassed. "Father, what does this have to do with the Luo family?" Mo Shouting slammed his hand on the table. "Don't play dumb with me. Why don't you just tell me the truth?" Mo Shouting sneered. "So you're waiting here. The Luo family sure put in a lot of effort. Good good. Second brother, you really have a good wife. Ching obviously knew that shouting was mocking him, but he didn't think much of it. Was the Luo family doing something wrong? It was obviously a matter of mutual benefit. The matter of the plain brocade could only be blamed on boss and third brother, not the Luo family. You should accompany second elder Zhao for the next few days. I'll think about it again, shouting said with a dark expression. Father, this shop won't exist after this. You should hurry up and make a decision. Only the Zhao family is interested in that trash Fong Chao. Get lost. Shouting angrily threw his teacup at Ching. Ching left with a dirty look on his face. Shouting let out a long sigh. His family was so unlucky. How did he end up with such an idiot? Of course he was also tempted by the Zhao family's offer. But he had always felt that Yun Chujia's offer would come true. If that was the case, why should he be bullied by the Zhao family? Most importantly, he would be charged with selling his granddaughter. Forget it. Let's see if Fong Chao, that lass, can sell the plain brocade. On the other side, old Madame Lu was asking Luo Shi about the Zhao family. Mother, this is a good marriage that cannot be found even with a lantern in hand. As long as Fong Chao marries her, our family will rise to fame, said Luo Shi with beaming eyes. Humph. What a nice way to put it. Since it's so good, why don't you let Fong Hua marry her? Old Madame Lu now found Madame Luo quite an eyesore. Madame Luo choked and said awkwardly, Mother, it's not a question of who we want to marry. The Zhao family has specifically asked us to marry Fong Hua. Old Madame Lu scoffed, you've pushed it so far. By name? Don't think that I don't know what you've done. I'm not that old. Mother, are you saying that you won't let Fong Hua marry him? Luo Shi asked on purpose. She didn't think that old Madame Lu would give up on the fat in her mouth. It's not up to me to decide. Let's see what master will do. Although old Madame Lu couldn't bear it, it wasn't to the extent of challenging shouting for Yun Chujia's sake. Luo Shi couldn't help but curl her lips. Fong Chao, do you think it's useful for you to curry favor with these two old fogies? When it comes to benefits, you are still the one who has been abandoned. Another 2 days passed and everything was as usual. There was no special news. Shouting was a little uncertain. Could this little girl be bragging? If time ran out and she couldn't do it, then marrying her off would not be a pity. As for the warmth between grandfather and grandson, Shouting naturally did not take it to heart. Nothing was more important than the interests of the family. Fongqing could no longer sit still. Big sis, it's already been 4 days. Why hasn't there been any movement? Could it be that He Shi's progress isn't going well? Yun Chujia was calm. Don't worry, there won't be a problem. Besides, even if he doesn't succeed, I have a way to sell the plain brocade. What way? Buddha said you can't tell, Yun Chujia said with a smile. Fongqing was so angry that she was twitching. She didn't say it, then so be it. The emperor was really not in a hurry. Let's see what she would do in the end. After Fongqing left, Xiao Hanyo asked curiously, Master, if He Shi and the others don't succeed, what do you plan to do? Isn't that simple? I have a lot of money. If I really can't do it, I can find someone to buy the plain brocade. Xiao Hanyo, All right, the black-hearted owner was so poor that she only had money left. Although this move was rough, it was absolutely useful. No wonder she suddenly relaxed these few days. It turned out that she had thought of such a rich method. A lot of people quickly gathered at Jinxiu village. They were all here to watch the show, pointing at the heaven, earth, mountains, rivers and moonlight skirt hanging on the wall. This heaven, earth, mountains, rivers and moonlight skirt style is quite novel. This material seems to be plain brocade, but why are there patterns of different depths on it? Sure. I heard that this plain brocade seems to be a defective product that has not been dyed evenly. What? Defective product? It's a defective product, but it's still sold at a high price. Isn't this brocade house too much of a scam? Shopkeeper Guo's chubby forehead was covered in sweat. He had rejected this matter in his heart, but Yun Chujia's letter had arranged it this way. Shopkeeper, is your heaven, earth, mountains, rivers and moonlight skirt really 200,000 per set? Someone asked loudly. Shopkeeper Gua thought of Yun Chujia's instructions. He pretended to be arrogant and said, "That's right. The heaven, earth, mountains, rivers and moonlight skirt is made with complicated workmanship. Each skirt is unique, so the stock is limited. If you want to buy it, you can only pay 10,000 spirit stones to reserve it first. The quantity is limited. First come, first served." What the hell was that? He had to pay to reserve it? Was this shopkeeper Gua's head stuck in the door? It would be strange if someone bought this piece of trash. The news quickly reached the ears of everyone in the Mo residence. Mo Peng and Mo Chong naturally gloated over Yun Chujia's misfortune. They knew that this was Yun Chujia's idea. They thought to themselves, this lass looks smart but she's actually still young. Isn't she just fooling around? What kind of fool would spend 200,000 spiritual stones on a defective product? Although Mo Ching and Luo Shi did not know that this was Yun Chujia's idea, they still scoffed at it. They thought it was Mo Peng and Mo Chang's idea, so they laughed at it, thinking that it was a joke. After hearing about it, Mo Shouting could not help but feel a little disappointed. It seemed that he had overestimated the Fong Chao girl. This idea was simply stupid. Did you think that just because you gave her a big name she would say that there was a limit to the number of products? Someone would buy it at a high price. How childish. It seemed like he should talk to second elder Zhao about the marriage. The Zhao family's offer was more realistic. Perhaps with the money from selling talismans he would be able to open up a path back to the eastern continent. In the blink of an eye, another 2 days passed. The number of people gathered outside the entrance of Jinxiu village was decreasing. They were all laughing at the fact that Jinxiu village and the Mo family were crazy about earning money. Only a fool would buy these tattered clothes. Didn't Mianxiu village say that the heaven, earth, mountains, rivers and moon's dress is limited in number and can only be reserved? Why are these two ladies wearing it? Where did they buy it? Everyone was extremely curious. They all gathered around the entrance of Mianxiu Zhuang, and some people even went inside to watch the show. The girl wearing aqua blue clothes said, "I heard that you guys also have heaven, earth, mountains, rivers and moon dresses here? How much are you selling them for?" Shopkeeper Gua ignored her and said, 200,000 for a set. Pay 10,000 spirit stones first to reserve it. 200,000? Are you sure you said 200,000? The yellow girl said in surprise. Those who were watching the show couldn't help but gloat. These two girls must have bought it at a very cheap price. After all, it was a defective product. Let's see how shopkeeper Gua will deal with it. That's right. It's 200,000. If you think it's too expensive, you can go to another shop and buy it. Shopkeeper Gua said firmly, but his heart was filled with tears. This wasn't the attitude of selling things. Could this be sold? It's not expensive. It's not expensive. 10,000 spirit stones, right? This is 100,000 high-grade spirit stones. I'll order 10 sets. Give me 1 set of all colors. The girl in aqua blue hurriedly said. I'll order 10 sets too. No, I'll order 20 sets. Give my cousins 1 set too. The girl in light yellow hurriedly said, as if she was afraid that she wouldn't be able to get it. Shopkeeper Gua didn't say anything for a long time, but the girl in light yellow clothes became a little anxious. Shopkeeper, tell me if you can do this or not. She didn't know that Shopkeeper Gua's heart was turning upside down. Oh God, someone actually came to buy this defective product? 10 sets? Shopkeeper Gua thought of the letter Yun Chujia wrote to him and suppressed the excitement in his heart. With a cold face he said, the owner has told us that there is a limited number of these heaven, earth, mountains, rivers and moon dresses. In order to let more people buy them, everyone is limited to 10 sets. If there are any more, we can't sell them. I'm sorry. The onlookers were stunned. Holy shit. Not only were people buying this shit heaven, earth, mountains, rivers and moon dresses, but they were also fucking limited. Was this shopkeeper Gua crazy, or were those two girls crazy? Just as everyone was thinking about it, the girl in the light yellow dress was unhappy. Shopkeeper, how can you be like this? Open the door and do business. I can buy as much as I want. Why is there a limited edition dress? Shopkeeper Gua thought to himself, fucking he didn't want to do this. But this was exactly what the little ancestor had told him. If he didn't do as he was told, he might have to move his head. Shouting, who was sitting in the tea house, furrowed his brows. It wasn't easy for someone to come and buy, so why wasn't he selling? This shopkeeper Guo was usually quite smart, but what did he do today? How could he push his business forward? However, where did those two ladies buy the heaven, earth, mountains and rivers and moon dresses from? Could it be that someone else also used this plain brocade dyed with flowers to make clothes? Everyone's gaze focused on Shopkeeper Gua. Shopkeeper Gua spread his hands helplessly. Miss, I'm really sorry. This is what the owner told me. Each person can only buy 10 sets of this heaven, earth, mountains and rivers and moon dresses at most. If you are not satisfied, you can look at the other dresses in the shop. Those are not limited to purchase. The girl in the light yellow dress curled her lips. I want to buy this heaven, earth, mountains, rivers and moonlight dress. I don't like other clothes. We came all the way here. Can't you make an exception? That's right, shopkeeper. We also came all the way here because we heard that you have a heaven, earth, mountains, rivers and moonlight dress here. You can make an exception. The girl in the water blue dress echoed. Shopkeeper Gua felt as if he was talking to a dog in his heart. Oh God, after doing business for so many years, he had never encountered such a situation. The customer wanted to buy it, but the shopkeeper refused to sell it. Was he crazy? However, Yun Chujio had told him in advance. He could only grit his teeth and said, ladies, I'm really sorry. Our shop has rules. The heaven, earth, mountains, rivers and moonlight skirt is limited to 10 sets per person. If the two of you have any objections, you can go to another shop to have a look. You're so unreasonable. Lan Xiang, let's go. We're not buying from him anymore. The girl in the light yellow dress said angrily. The girl in the water blue dress was a little hesitant. Su Xing, we came all the way here for this heaven, earth, mountains, rivers and moonlight dress. Wouldn't it be a joke if we returned empty-handed? Moreover, this 200,000 yuan is too cheap. Let's buy it. But this shopkeeper is too much. I don't want to buy it anymore. The two young girls began to argue in a low voice, but the spectators managed to catch some crucial information. They came for the heaven, earth, mountains, rivers and moonlight skirt? What was so special about this lousy skirt? Wasn't it made from plain brocade with dyed flowers? Could it be that there was another difference? Also, 200,000 is too cheap? From the sound of it, it must be much more expensive elsewhere. How is that possible? However, everyone was still on the fence. Maybe these 4 people just liked this style of dress, so they came to buy it. Just as everyone was wondering, more than 10 people came to Mian Xiaozhuang to order the heaven, earth, mountains, rivers and moonlight dress. There were middle-aged women, young girls, and some seemed to be young ladies from big families. Some of them seemed to be servant girls or maidservants. There was even a middle-aged man who came to inquire if Shopkeeper Gua had any men's styles. Shopkeeper Gua said with a wooden face, there aren't any men's styles for the time being, but they will be released one after another in the future. The middle-aged man was immediately beaming with joy and immediately handed over the deposit for 10 sets of men's clothing. The onlookers, especially those who were quick-witted, could not sit still and tried to find out what those people had to say. Unfortunately, those people kept their mouths shut. In the end, it was the youngest girl who let the cat out of the bag. You really don't know? I heard that the plain brocade used in this heaven, earth, mountains, rivers and moons dress looks like a defective product of dying flowers, but in fact, it's soaked in a special spirit herb. After wearing it, you can increase the speed at which you absorb spirit chi. What? The spectators lost their composure immediately. This heaven, earth, mountains, rivers and moons dress actually had such an effect. No wonder these people came all the way here to buy it. If it was really like this, not to mention 200,000, even 500,000 wouldn't be expensive. Many people were skeptical. They ran to Jin Xiaozhuang and asked Shopkeeper Gua, Shopkeeper Gua, I heard that this heaven, earth, mountains, rivers and moonlight skirt increases the speed of absorbing spiritual essence. Is it true? Shopkeeper Gua said with a cold face, I've never heard of anything that increases spiritual essence but not spiritual essence. If you want to buy it, then hurry up. If you don't want to buy it, then look at other styles. Anyway, there is a limited number of heaven, earth, mountains, rivers and moonlight skirts and they will be sold out very soon. People were like that. If shopkeeper Gua said it in an exaggerated manner, the onlookers might think that he was exaggerating. But shopkeeper Gua actually denied it. What was the reason for this? Normally, shouldn't people praise their own products for the sake of sales? Why did shopkeeper Gua deny it? Someone slapped his thigh and said, I know. This profiteer must want to raise the price. Think about it, when he saw that the sales were so good, and those people even said that other places had already sold for 500,000 high-grade spirit stones, how could he not be tempted? Perhaps the price will rise tomorrow. That makes sense. Must be like that. No, I have to order a few pieces. Otherwise, the price will definitely rise tomorrow and it might not even be possible to buy them. Where can I find such beautiful and effective clothes? 200,000 is indeed not expensive. I'll order a few pieces too. I'll go too. I reckon that this quantity is definitely not much. If I go too late, I reckon I won't be able to get them. People all had the mentality of following the crowd. With a few people shouting like this, many people who were originally uncertain immediately made up their minds. In addition, once they heard that they might not be able to buy it, the heaven, earth, mountains and rivers and moonlight dresses instantly became lofty in their hearts and swarmed toward the brocade house. Shopkeeper Guo was so scared that he was dumbfounded. Oh God, are these people crazy? Shopkeeper Guo recalled the letter Yun Chujio gave him and said loudly, everyone listen to me. The heaven, earth, mountains and rivers and moonlight dresses use a limited amount of plain brocade. So the number of ready-made clothes is also limited. Hearing Shopkeeper Guo's words, everyone immediately became anxious. Shopkeeper Guo, what do you mean? Do you not want to sell it to us or do you want to raise the price? You have already sold the foreigner, why don't you sell it to us? Mo Peng, who was at the side, also chimed in proudly, Father, this is really a blessing in disguise. Not only will we not suffer a loss but we will also make a huge profit. You won't be angry this time, right? That's right. Second brother still wants to ask the Luo family for help. Bah. Our Mo family is blessed by the heavens. We even need the help that the Luo family owes our son. Mo Chong said with a beaming expression. Yun Chujio couldn't hold back her laughter. Where did these two people get their confidence from? Blessed by the heavens? Blessed my ass. If it wasn't for me, you guys would have lost everything. Mo Ziyading's face turned red. You wanted to kill these two idiots. Get out. Get out. Keep your mouth shut. If I hear any of your nonsense, I won't forgive you. Mo Peng and Mo Chong were completely confused. This was such a good thing, why was their father scolding them? I'm warning you two, you are not to interfere in the plain brocade business. If I find out that you have done anything or said anything wrong, I will take back all your shops. Do you hear me? Mo Shouting was extremely disappointed in his two sons. They were completely stupid. Although Mo Peng and Mo Chong still did not quite understand, they did not dare to disobey Mo Ziyading's orders and retreated with their heads lowered. Mo Shouting slammed the table angrily. Stupid. Stupid. How could I, Mo Shouting, have such a stupid son? Yun Chujio cursed in her heart. The reason was simple. You've done too many immoral things. Mo Shouting took a deep breath and asked, Feng Chao, tell grandfather what's going on. Grandfather, it's actually very simple. I've only used two methods. One is to buy clothes and the other is to limit purchases. Yun Chujio did not mention hunger marketing. She was afraid that Mo Shouting wouldn't understand, so she changed to limit purchases. Mo Shouting furrowed his brows and thought for a moment before he suddenly realized, You arranged for those women and those people to buy clothes? Yun Chujio giggled. That's right, not only them but also those who were causing a ruckus in the crowd and adding fuel to the fire. I asked Heisher and the others to hire them. Mo Ziyading's eyes twitched. This little girl was really mean. She actually thought of such a method. If he didn't know, even he would have believed her. Then why did they limit their purchases? Wouldn't the more they buy, the better? Emo shouting asked in confusion. Grandfather, this restriction is to stimulate people's desire to buy. The less they can get, the better. This restriction has created the illusion that demand exceeds supply. The more it is like this, the more people will fight over it. Let me tell you, there might be more people lining up to buy tonight. There might even be people from other cities coming over to buy, Yun Chujio said confidently. Emo shouting had never heard of such a sales strategy. The more he thought about it, the more he felt it made sense, but he suddenly thought of a crucial question. Feng Chao, what you said makes sense. But the heaven, earth, mountains, rivers, and moonlight dress doesn't have any effect on absorbing spiritual energy. What if those people come and cause a ruckus? Yun Chujio smiled brightly. Grandfather, don't worry. I have already thought about this. Firstly, I will let the child spread the public opinion. I will say that ever since I put on the heaven, earth, mountains and rivers and the moon dress, the speed of absorbing spiritual energy has increased. Everyone loves their face. If others have increased their speed, how can they say that they have not increased their speed? Secondly, if there are still people who go and cause a ruckus, I will let Shopkeeper Gua play the recording stone. Shopkeeper Gua has clearly told them that this dress does not have the effect of increasing the speed of absorbing spiritual energy. If they cause a ruckus, it will be unreasonable. Emo shouting did not say a word after hearing Yun Chujio's words. He was completely shocked by Yun Chujio's methods. This little girl was a business genius. How did she come up with these methods? They were simply too ingenious. Most importantly, they were flawless. Even if people noticed something was wrong, they wouldn't dare to cause trouble. Emo shouting did a rough calculation and was shocked by the profit he could make. 1.5 billion high-grade spirit stones. Oh God, this little girl had sold those defective goods at a sky-high price. Even the talisman business wasn't this profitable. Just as Emo shouting was about to praise Yun Chujio, Emo Ching arrived. Dad, I heard that the plain brocade was sold at a high price. I told you my brother-in-law wouldn't cheat our Emo family. Although Emo Ching felt it was a pity that this matter couldn't suppress Emo Peng and Emo Chong, it was still a good thing that the Luo family had been cleaned up. Yun Chujio looked at Emo shouting with sympathy. How did such a smart old fox give birth to 3 idiots? Could it be old Madame Liu's genes? Emo Xiaoting's face was indeed red with anger. Shut up. Get out. Emo Ching was completely dumbfounded by the scolding. He then said, Dad, let's not talk about the plain brocade for now. Second Elder Zhao said that today is the last day. If you don't give him a definite answer, he will leave for Jianfeng City. Tell him to wait in the living room. I will tell him the result. Emo shouting felt disdain in his heart. Did he really take himself seriously? Wasn't it just a matter of controlling the supply of talismans? If worst came to worst, the Emo family would no longer deal in talismans. With Feng Chao as a money tree, who would be bullied by the Zhao family. Emo Ching did not know what Emo shouting was thinking. He thought Emo shouting was going to agree to Yun Chujio's marriage. He glanced at Yun Chujio proudly before leaving in a hurry. Feng Chao, don't worry. Grandfather will not agree to the Zhao family's marriage. In the future, Grandfather will help you find a suitable family and marry you, Emo shouting said with a smile. Yun Chujio cursed in her heart. The old fox was probably thinking that it would be best if she never married. Grandfather, I will follow you to take a look, Yun Chujio said because she was afraid that the Zhao family would come up with another bargaining chip to prevent Emo shouting from changing his mind. Emo shouting now found Yun Chujio extremely pleasing to the eye, so he agreed without hesitation. When Emo shouting brought Yun Chujio into the living room, Emo Ching was talking to Second Elder Zhao with a fawning expression. Emo Ching saw that Emo shouting had brought Yun Chujio with him, so he was even more certain that Emo shouting had agreed to marry Yun Chujio. Otherwise he wouldn't have brought her here. Second Elder Zhao, this is my eldest daughter, Emo Feng Chao. Don't you think she has an outstanding appearance? Emo Ching asked in a flattering manner. Yun Chujio curled her lips. Fathers didn't know, they would think that he was a pimp. How shameless. Emo shouting was furious. Second Elder, shut up. Emo Ching was so angry that he shrunk his neck and sat back in his seat without saying a word. Second Elder Zhao sized up Yun Chujio. Her looks were not bad, but it was a pity that looks were useless. It was mainly because of her identity as a member of the Yi family. Master Amo, it seems like you've made up your mind. Since that's the case, let's set a date. The 8th day of next month will be the auspicious day. Why don't we set it on that day? Second Elder Zhao said arrogantly. He thought to himself, after considering for so many days, didn't he still agree? Mahis cannot resist their Zhao family put forward the conditions. You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.